Wait. We haven't gotten to this part yet. A few years back, I made my first major audio purchase, that being the Sennheiser Momentum True Wireless 2s. Now, at the time, these were regarded as one of the best earbuds money could buy, pretty much. And I loved them until they broke, but thankfully Amazon's return policy was pretty good. And thankfully I was able to get my money back and try it again. So it was great. They worked awesome, but then they broke again. And that's where these come in. The Moondrop Aira Snow Edition. Let's delve into what makes these so great and their one tragic flaw. Oh, and by the way, thanks Apos Audio for sending these in for testing. They're letting me loan them so I can, like, do like, oh, they sound like this. Anyway, thanks, it wouldn't be possible without them. Anyway, let's get into the unboxing. Now, the unboxing experience of these things is actually very premium feeling, and that's kind of a surprise for sub $100 anything these days, but I will warn you, maybe keep this one out of your parents' sight. So in the box, they come with two types of ear tips for whatever you prefer. I mainly stuck to the clear ones because I used them, I liked them, I didn't really try the other ones too much, but when you get them, you're going to be able to look between the two and just see what you personally like better. Also in the box, you get a really nice carrying case, as we saw here, and I really like it when companies do this because when you're traveling, it makes it super easy to, just throw them in a backpack and not worry about them getting tangled with all your junk. So as far as the build quality goes, I would say the housings for the drivers are very well put together. They're made of like solid metal, it feels like. So I'm not worried about them getting too banged up just by being sat on or something like that. It's good. Also on the outside of them, they have a very nice snowflake design, which, I think it's really nice. I mean, it fits my whole channel theme quite well. Moving on to the cable, it's nothing too crazy special, although I will say it does tangle pretty easy if you don't know how to spool it up right, but I mean, that's with any wired IEMs. They're very fun to deal with. I will say one thing about it is the cord isn't super long. In 90% of use cases, that's completely fine because long cables can be very annoying to deal with, trust me. I know. But the one issue happens if you're maybe like gaming with them and your PC is a little bit further away. You might experience some tugging issues, but overall, I wouldn't say it's too bad. And I mean, you can always solve a problem like that by getting like a desktop amp or something. Now, speaking of annoying cables, let's talk about the convenience of the Aria Snow editions. These are basically your run-of-the-mill wired earbuds. They don't have anything fancy like noise canceling or anything. They make sound. That's a pretty cool feature, right? So what I'm trying to say is they're not especially inconvenient, but they also don't really compete with something like wireless earbuds at all. Nothing can beat just how easy it is to, flip them open, stick them in your eardrums and get some sound. But that's not to say that these don't have any convenience features. On the earbuds themselves, the wire for them is detachable from the casing. So if you need to transit them, you don't have to worry about the buds getting all tangled up, or you can maybe get a new cord, which I would say is a pretty big convenience perk. And that travel case we mentioned earlier in the video makes them really convenient to carry with you on trips or, just normal commutes. So when it comes to wireless versus wired products, the kneel definitely goes to, wireless convenience wise. But if you're watching this video, you probably care more about sound than convenience, and good for you. You're not a sheep. Alrighty, let's talk about the sound quality. And for this test, the AirPods Pro Generation 2 were my test/control subject, and I actually got some really interesting results. So as always, let's start out with some subjective sound, and first we're gonna talk about the bass. Now, according to some YouTubers I've watched, a lot of them say that they're almost a little thin on the bass, they lack a little bit of punch, especially when comparing them to the original Aria, which is totally fine. Sound, and especially bass, is subjective. But to me, the bass on these sounded pretty prevalent in the mix, and I definitely think it had a good amount of kick to it. Now, I don't think it was like blowing my face out with bass or anything like that, so I kind of think it falls in between those. It's there, but it could be lacking for some, but not for me. Because personally, I like a little bit of a less bloated sound, and I think these do a pretty good job of avoiding that in general. Now for the mid-range. Now, I don't have any complaints with the mid-range. I actually think it's probably the highlight of these earbuds. Instruments and singers all sounded very prevalent. I mean, most of your music does live in the mid-range of the frequency response.
Your backup trumpets!
One thing I did notice while listening to them is that electric guitars sounded very prevalent and good. So as far as my personal testing, I think the mid-range was one of the highlight standout features of these buds. So now let's talk about the sparkle. Honestly, I would say this is probably one of the weaker points of the earbuds as a whole, just because I feel like on some of those sparkly high-end details that you can hear with some headphones, they're just a little bit lacking. I just don't feel like they highlighted the crispy tones in a meaningful way. So there's a song I was listening to called Moon by Lund, and on that song, the vocals and the guitars all sounded like really good. His voice was just right there, the guitars sounded sweet. But then you'd have these like little details around that I am pretty used to hearing in the song with my other audio equipment, and it just doesn't highlight it as some other buds do. And just overall, when listening to the buds, it just almost seemed like there was a fuzzy sort of veil over all the singers and everything. Maybe it's the lack of sparkle, maybe it's just a little weak with its technicalities or resolution, but whatever the case may be, it always just seemed like the singer's like natural voice was a little veiled. Now, is this a deal breaker? No, because if you're gonna be a snob about the resolution of your headphones, then I think there's other options out there that would suit you a little bit better. Now onto a more positive note, the soundstage and imaging. These are actually probably one of my favorite parts of these earbuds. They didn't completely blow me out of the water, but I will say I think the imaging of them was fantastic for the price. All the voices of the singers sounded very distinct and separated from their instrumental counterparts. I mean, they just sounded big. All right, now let's talk about some subjective sound. We got our lovely frequency response graph, and as we can see, they have a slight elevation in the bass and a little roll off in the sub bass, and they are very linear for the most part other than the bass. But as we can see, they don't have much sparkle in the treble, and I think this is what gives them their fast, full sounding signature, but also contributes to their lack of detail. So overall with sound quality, I think these things are amazing. And I think if you're interested into stepping into the audiophile landscape and you're starting to care more about, you know, the sound of your music rather than all the Bluetooth fancy knickknacks, and you also appreciate a nice mid-range, then I think these are the perfect starting point for you. And if you're interested in gaming with them, I also did a lot of that with them, and they worked great for it. Good imaging and soundstage. They left me feeling pretty immersed in my gaming experiences. Yeah, I think these are a good pickup if you're a gamer wanting something that maybe you can listen to music, play games with, you know, a good all-rounder. So they're definitely good for that too. Now, this leaves us with just one last thing to talk about. Their one tragic flaw. They broke. Now, I've been using these off and on for testing for the last couple months, and actually right as I was about to start writing this, you know, the script for this review, I wanted to do some last minute testing to just, you know, get my thoughts in order, and they made that pretty hard as suddenly the right earbud lost like 80% of its volume, leaving a huge driver imbalance. And at first I thought it was just a fluke with one of my, you know, devices. I moved it between computers, tablets, tested them with pretty much everything, and nothing worked. I even tried, you know, disconnecting and reconnecting the cables, all sorts of troubleshooting. And yeah, one of the earbuds is just cooked. I reached out to Apos Audio, who sent them, and they said it's not a common issue. So I'm pretty sure if you get them, you're not going to experience the same thing I did, but you know, there's always a chance. And I thought I should put that out there so you guys can, you know, factor some issues like that. So overall, I think for the money, the fact that these can trade blows with something as expensive as the AirPods Pro Generation 2s is a testament to how wired audio products are not nearly irrelevant. With AirPods Pro, you're paying for active noise canceling, transparency mode, and all those other Bluetooth knickknacks. Whereas with headphones like these, you're paying for one thing: sound quality. So you end up getting sound quality much better for half the cost. Not to mention that with services like Apple Music, you can actually experience lossless audio. I would say it's an all-round win-win. If you're willing to let go of your, you know, freedom to turn your head and walk away from your computer without ripping your whole computer off your desk setup, then I think these are perfect for you. So even though they kind of broke on me, I'll definitely still give them a recommendation, but with a big caution sign. Also, if you're interested in picking these up, check the link in the description because that will help support my channel. Cause I'm small and make no money. With that being said, thanks for watching.